Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast, where the legal industry gets real. I'm your host, Eda Rosa, legal consultant, speaker, and founder of Eda Rosa LLC and the Limitless Paralegal Academy. This isn't your stuffy legal studies school lecture. We're talking mindset, money, modern workflows, and how to build a career and a life you don't need a vacation from. Let's cut the fluff, raise the bar, and change the game one conversation at a time. If you like what you hear, feel free to share and send us your feedback. Now let's talk paralegal. In this episode, we're diving into the hottest and, let's be honest, sometimes most overwhelming topics out there, artificial intelligence. But instead of looking at AI as a threat or a gimmick, my guest Wendy Meadows invites us to reframe it as a companion. We'll talk about the right moments to lean on AI, the boundaries where human judgment still reigns supreme, and how to build confidence in experimenting with these tools without losing your authentic voice. Wendy has a grounded, practical approach that makes this conversation feel less like tech talk and more like a roadmap for everyday professionals. So grab your coffee, keep an open mind, and let's explore how and when to use AI as a trusted sidekick in both work and life. Listen in for more. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I'm here with Wendy today, and we're going to talk about something that probably is hitting home with everybody right now in a world of uncertainty, in a world of fear, in a world of I have no idea what I'm doing, where I'm going, and what I'm going to do with my life. Most of you, as listeners, are in a pivotal moment in your career, in your life, in everything in between. And so today we're going to talk about AI and how it's more of a companion versus a competitor. And so Wendy does this on a daily basis. She coaches with lawyers and law firms day in and day out. So she can really guide us through that process and how we can properly use AI versus fear AI. So Wendy, welcome to the show. And introduce yourself first before we get straight into the topic, because I always like to introduce the human behind the skills and education.
I love it. And if we're starting with the humanity, and my name's Wendy Meadows, and I'll start with the human, which is I have two little humans. I have a 13, so I'm a lawyer mom, as we like to call ourselves. I've been practicing 20 years, which is wild. I've been solo for 7, which is also wild. I'm a family law attorney in a small area of Baltimore County, Maryland. And fun fact about my lawyer career, about 5 years ago, I turned off the spigot to litigation, meaning I no longer really have to do discovery. Like that's the most beautiful part, right?
Yay!
So while I still represent children in cases as a best interest attorney, et cetera, but there's really not discovery to be done when you're in that role, maybe teeny tiny bit. So my practice now focuses on mediation, parent coordination, which is like a referee for parents, prenups, postnups, more like the documenty stuff in family law. And like I said, like I still represent children. And that has turned into like half of my life. And my other half of my career, I'm a life coach primarily to burnt out lawyer moms. But that also has me coming into law firms and coaching paralegals and coaching assistants and coaching like the billing person, right? To have like their best practices and or helping people leave their firm and go solo. So I've done a lot of pivots in the last 7 years. Once I went solo myself, I had the freedom to do so. And I also wrote a book, Sparkle and Grit. And so I'm on the public speaking circuit and author circuit as well. So I wear many hats.
I love that. And I think that's a true entrepreneur or womanpreneur, like they call us. And I'm also in that same boat. So I can totally relate. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate as well. And just because you're not a parent and you're not there yet, trust me, this is like your foresight. Okay. If
I would,
that's the plan.
yeah, I'll teach you the things I wish I knew. Like I wish I knew a million years ago.
Right? Yeah. So let's get to it. Let's talk about AI and how it's more of a companion and, to be used as a tool and when not to use it, right? Because sometimes we tend to overutilize tools when we can utilize the best tool ever, which is our brain.
Very true. Very true. So we
Um,
done?
yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Where I I have really fallen in love with AI over the course, I guess, of the last year, year and a half. Like when I first learned ChatGPT and what it was. And at first, I had no idea what I was doing with it. I was asking it very basic questions. But that now has since evolved, and I know how to talk to my chat. And he knows me. I don't have a name for him, but he knows me pretty well. And he knows the different hats I wear. So I can tell him what hat I'm wearing, and he will, comply. And again, he's like my companion. He's not my guide. He is not my number one assistant, but he is a companion that I rely on. And the other AI I use almost daily is a program called Spellbooks. I love Spellbooks. It looks over my contracts, and as a solo person, right? I don't have a boss and I don't have an associate working for me. I'm a true blue solo. It's me and my assistant, Nicole. And Nicole is amazing, but I don't expect her to look over contracts for me. So like talking about Spellbooks for a moment, I like having that second set of eyes. I like someone else like making sure I did everything correctly, like literally crossing my T's, dotting my I's, literally saying, "Oh, Wendy, you switched mother and father. Oh, Wendy, there's an inconsistency somewhere," in a very nice and loving way. And it makes the change for me. So it makes my life a lot easier. So that's the way I really love it. Where I find that attorneys and where I've advised clients to use AI, and now I'm learning this and I'm trying to backtrack, is when humans communicate with humans, and where I think AI is can be helpful, and where I think it's also hurting us too.
I believe so too. And I feel like nobody knows the client more than we do. And we also have that human element that we can add to the conversation. So we understand when the client needs space, especially in the family sector. I worked in it for a couple of years, so I completely understand the dynamics, the emotions that come into this life-changing event for all parties. It doesn't matter what party you're representing, especially when it comes to the mediation portion or arbitration, depending on your jurisdiction and your strategy. But understanding how to navigate through those different intricacies, emotions run high. I remember one story time. I remember one time I didn't have an office at this law firm because I was more like freelancing for them. And so they literally put me in the reception desk because that's the only place they had in the office for me when I would come in person. And so I took it. I mean, it is what it is. And so I stood there and I played the receptionist when I had to, and all the in-betweens that came with it because I'm a team player. And so I'm there, and there was these two littles, they were adorable, and you could tell they were just not in the right mindset. And it's really tough, for a 4 and 5-year-old to understand why mommy and daddy are no longer going to be living in the same house, or they're not going to see them every day, and going through all the changes, right? And so as a mother at that time as well, I had two littles as well, and I'm putting my kids in that position. And I said, "Hey guys, you want to play? Let's do a book, let's do this, let's do that," and kind of distracted them from, what's about to happen, right? Because it was mediation, and hopefully they would have agreed, and all the things would have been fine. And so one rule that the lawyers had was the children cannot be in the room while this is happening, right? So either find a dedicated person, find them some care, and preferably not even in the office, right? Because the walls are thin and they can hear the arguments. So what I did was I would have a little sound machine, those little, like those little sound machines, and I would turn that on because you could literally hear it. And it would distract me from my work, so I turned it on anyway. So I would do that. I turned it on, I played with them, and they never understood or knew what was happening until after, right? And, little things like that, AI cannot do, right? AI cannot be present there. AI cannot see the cues and the social cues and things like that. So really, we need to remind ourselves that at the end of the day, this is a very much human-driven industry, and we need to treat it as such and not get lost in our tools and automation, although I'm all for it. That's what we do on a day-to-day basis for our clients. But again, we always teach our clients that there is a limit to everything, right? When it comes to our clients, they still need to be taken care of with a white glove, experience, whatever that looks like in whatever shape and form, right? So talking about that though, there is a lot to it. Running a law firm is not just a lawyer anymore, right? We have a staff, and in your case, you have a staff and an assistant. So really depending on the dynamics of the law firm, how can we, even though we also try to strive to provide that human element back to our clients, we as colleagues, right, as partners, as associates, as whatever relationship you may have with your coworkers, also have to provide ourselves with kudos. And we were talking about that before the recording, and you brought up great points about how the importance of showing appreciation, even if it's just a simple thank you. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Hey Legal Pros, are you ready to stop playing small? The Limitless Paralegal Academy is officially open, offering powerhouse courses, real-world tools, and expert-led training to help you build the career and life you actually want. We're not stopping there. The Limitless Paralegal Tour is hitting the road. We're bringing the mindset shifts, career strategies, and community straight to your city with epic speakers, actionable sessions, and zero boring PowerPoints. This isn't your average CLE. This is your legal career reimagined. Join the Academy, meet us on tour, become the legal pro everyone remembers. Visit limitlessparalegals.com to enroll and grab your ticket now. Be bold, be brilliant, but most importantly, be limitless.
Yeah, like so even as much as I love AI, right? And as much as it makes my life so much easier, it will never replace my actual assistant, Nicole, right? Is Nicole, she makes my life easier. And we have not had AI completely take away calendaring. I have taken calendaring off of my plate because Wendy, the attorney or coach who's doing 25 million things, should not be in charge of a calendar. Because when I am in charge of my calendar or when I try and like supplant Nicole, I mess it up without fail. And I'm sure AI could help there too. And I know like I still use Calendly for some things and pieces. But when it comes to Nicole talking with like booking my clients, right? Booking my mediation clients or booking my life coach clients. Yeah, my life coach clients have a link, but they prefer to talk to her. They prefer to talk to like a person. And Nicole like can wiggle my calendar a little bit more. And same with mediation. Like that's the entry point where people are about to work with me, right? So rather than sending them a cold and personal link, like here you go, like Nicole will get on the phone with people. And that's the other thing AI I'm sure it can, but I don't think it can do it as well as humans, right? Get on the phone with people and say, hey, I'm here. Like, let me work with the two of you to schedule this because it's already a really high stress situation. So if she can get on the phone with people and arrange just simply the date for mediation, that sets it well up for me, right? She tees me up to then have a success, for me to have success in my job. And I make sure I tell her as many times as I can, and I will screenshot this part of the recording, right? That I appreciate her immensely because also she catches things, right? Like she's a human and she was like, hey, Wendy, I saw this and I saw this. They don't match up, right? Because it's not like all of our AI thingies talk to each other yet. So she sees where there might be mess ups or slip ups. She's like, hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see that? AI doesn't do that for me like yet. And she's a real person. So when I need to like bounce ideas off of her about like a case or a mediation that was crazy or mediation that was amazing, and she's like listening in the other room, she's an actual human for me to have a conversation with rather than me plugging into Chat GPT. And sometimes I really think as much as I love Chat, he tells us what we want to hear. Like he definitely tells us what we want to hear more than being, an independent thinking partner. So I think it's so important. Like, and I think what it's really important for your listeners to know if they do an amazing job for who they are working for, whether they're reporting to a paralegal, whether they're reporting to a partner or a managing part associate, if you make yourself indispensable and you put your whole heart and not your whole heart, but your whole work, heart, and soul into the job. I don't mean to put your whole heart and soul into the job because we need more balance than that, right? But if you give it your best and you show up motivated and you show up and you want to learn and you're in a growth mindset, like your attorney's not going to want to lose you. And your attorney should be compensating, like doing what they can to keep you and compensating you accordingly, right? Like if we will do whatever we can to keep our staff that works well. Whatever we can. So like AI will not replace you so long as you continue to show up and, do your job. Maybe look for the holes. Look for the holes where you too know that AI is going to mess up and make sure that that's where you do an even better job.
Absolutely. I completely am in agreement with you, especially with the calendaring. It doesn't matter how much AI we have, how much automation. It always takes time, right? Because it's never really going to prepare for you like a paralegal will. Like I remember when I used to prep hearings and mediations, I would prep my attorneys for that. And it's just like little things, right? Like, yeah, it can do the summary, it can help you, right? It can help you get like halfway through, but then it's like, hey, remember that the client's triggers are these things, right? Like, let's make sure that if this comes up during the mediation, that we, stay ahead of the game. Like, AI is not going to do that, right? Remember that they're very anxious and they're very, under pressure. They don't work well under pressure and things like that. And prepping the clients for these intense moments, right? Because let's be real, mediation depositions might as well be interrogations, right? Because that's really what the elements of the conversations gear up to when it's not in a well growth mindset. And so being ahead of that, right? I always teach my paralegals, my teams, everybody, hey, be proactive versus reactive. We never want to be in a reactive state of mind. We always want to dot our I's, cross our T's. And yes, AI can get us halfway there, but all these little intricacies that come in between, that's where you come in. You can become an AI manager. You can, really look at the big picture. Okay, let's look at the calendar. We have to understand that there is a distance, right? If they have to physically be there with or without traffic. These are things that it's not going to be calculated as well as you. 5 o'clock traffic, especially in South Florida. It's a nightmare. You'll never go anywhere. Might as well not do it. So things like that AI is not really going to be in tuned with because you're local, you know the traffic, you know the weather, you know that in one day it can rain, it can pour, it can do all the things. And then all of a
Right.
sudden it's sunny, sunshine in an hour. Things like that. Those are things that may be predictable, but not as much. So the human brain is always going to be necessary. And I always bring this up, and kudos to Elon for trying, but he did this whole thing of Neuralink. And at this point, they should just honestly sponsor me because I always talk about this. But Neuralink is basically a study that he created a design where it actually, it looks like a headband almost, but backwards. And it's trying and it's attempting to learn more about the human brain. And even the smartest of the smartest scientists in the world, till this day, we are in 2025, have not been able to figure out all the intricacies of the human brain because we are so complicated, right? We just have all these little different nuances that they still haven't been able to figure out, even through therapy, through studies, and everything else. So, do you really think that AI is going to be able to do it? Absolutely not. So, understand that humans are complicated, that we are very dynamic, and that we have a lot of elements to us, both biologically and emotionally and psychology and all the things, all the G's. So, having said that, right? What are the do's and don'ts? What do you think, where can we find that balance that you were alluding to earlier?
I think it's exactly what you're saying. What AI doesn't get is a choice, right? And as humans, we get a choice and we have free will. So if every time we are about to embark on a task, we can ask ourselves, is this a chat, an AI, like whatever task, or is it a human task? And for us to be really freaking honest about it and do a scan of where we are. Because if we are so flipping tired and exhausted, so maybe we're like, maybe that is a day we rely more on AI just so we can get stuff done because we need to get stuff done. If we have the brain energy and we need to write something important, first drafts should then come from your brain. If you have the brain, if you have the space and the capacity, let's have it come from there. But again, I think it's really boils down to our communication and when we're using AI to help or not. So, like, for example, if we are writing a heartfelt email to a client, like that should come from us, right? And then if we need to zhuzh it up with AI, like, sure, say chat, like, make this, like, you are this person, make it better, maybe, right? Where I use AI in my communication, as I become more and more particular about it, is if I get a really nasty email and if it's real and it's nasty or it's really long, like a really long disgruntled email. In those cases, I will use chat. If I get a nasty email, I'm like, wait a second. If I read this verbatim and I reply to it, my heart is going to come on the line. This is going to send, like, this is going to put up my fight or flight. My amygdala is going to be going crazy, right? And it's going to take me 45 minutes to calm down. But for this, like, stupid email that I didn't ask for, I will use chat for that. I will like scan it so I just see it really quick, plug it in a chat, say, respond in this way, Make it, I usually say, make it assertive and not bitchy, right? Is my response. Right, which
I'm using that one.
especially for females, right? Because the life, it's true. And I do a quick read over each. I'm like, this is good enough, and I hit send, right? And then I don't allow my heart to be on the line when I don't have the time for it. And I don't have to put like my heart and soul into an email that doesn't deserve it, right?
Mm.
Or when a disgruntled client, because we all have them, especially my parent coordination cases, because I'm essentially the referee with parents, and that's like a high stress thing. I get emails like this long. Like, I don't have the time to read every blessed word. Like, and I think they're using chat to write to me. I read it, I know because I've taught them to use chat to write to each other. They now use chat to write to me. I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? Like, I've created a beast like this. And this is where I think I've
It's
gone
worked too well.
too well. But I can tell they haven't trained their chats in the same way. So like I know I can, chat has that like flavor to it. It doesn't have like their flavor to it. So I'll plug that in a chat. I'm like, summarize this and help me respond. And again, and it's saving the clients time and money because they don't realize them sending me emails this long. They have to pay for me to read every single word. Like, okay, let's have it summarized. So those are places I do use AI. Another place that I've been surprised that I love AI, I forgot to say, is the Fathom note taker. And I know we have a note taker. Do you use Fathom?
Yes.
Oh my. For a Fathom, like I'd say it's 95% better than I am in terms of like again my mediations and my parent coordination. I used to be like typing the whole time, taking notes. So I would have them, and I have two screens, so I'd be mediating with people whose like life's on the line here but taking notes over here, and I wasn't fully involved in the process. So slowly but surely I've been rolling out using Fathom, nervous that like, oh gosh, what if my notes go away, or oh gosh, and I always ask for my clients to say yes first, right? But and nervous it wouldn't take as good of notes as I would. And what I've come to find is it takes better notes, except for I have to zhuzh them up sometimes. Like it might be a little bit incorrect in places. And I love Fathom because you can like, as you know, like if pretend I forget, you can ask it questions. Like pretend I forget in a mediation if we talked about dogs or not, because I usually write an animal clause in the marital settlement agreements, like where the animals are, who gets them, who pays for vet bills. I'm serious. I've had some very lengthy animal clauses, but I sometimes forget. So I say, hey, Fathom, did we talk about dogs? Oh, yes, we did. And it takes you to the part of the Zoom where we talked about it, and I can play it like 3 times. So I have the language correct in my MSA rather than me writing back to the client saying, what did we say about the dogs again? Um, Love AI for that. So I love Fathom, love it. I love spell books to make my contracts better. You still need to do more than one pass. Like you have to keep doing it, and then you still have to read it yourself. I don't like it for heartfelt communication, and I don't like it for replacing people when you need people. I hate like the fake AI receptionist. I hate it. I hate that. Hate it.
Yeah.
I think those are my it's a companion. It's not your boss. Don't let it tell you what to do. It is not your number one assistant, but it's a really, really good helper.
Absolutely. And I still have my assistant, so I'm good. But yeah, you're right. I feel like sometimes there is good. Like I can tell. So another pet peeve of mine is, and this is probably more of the marketing aspect of my business, is content, right? So I I appreciate it, and I do go to chat for a lot of things. Hey, I have this idea. What do you think about it? How can we manipulate it to where it can be relevant? And like I have a conversation with it, but I don't copy and paste it. I definitely, manipulate it and do it and give it my flavor, right? If we're using your words. And so I do that. And you can totally tell when somebody leaves a comment or does something that is completely, chat, automated or Harvey. I love Harvey AI for those of you that don't know. It's very legal as well. I love Harvey. And Claude. Claude is good too. And all these, there's a plenty of tools we use in ours. Since we run our business off a Google Workspace, we use Gemini very much to do the summaries and do all that. So that's another option for you guys if you're looking for a different option. But also just like chat, like any other AI, you have to train it, right? You have to teach it because it does get it wrong. So you always have to use your brain. It's just more of a get me halfway there and I'll do the rest kind of thing, right? Yeah.
I do the
So
social too. Like I'll use it, and I usually, again zhuzh it up. But the M dashes, are the dead giveaway when it has like that little dash. And I look back at my old post where I clearly was using like, whoopsie, everyone can tell now, right? But
yeah.
like you're writing the LinkedIn comments when I know that's it kind of hurts my feelings, I guess, in a strange bit. If I know it's someone, I can tell it's someone's assistant commenting. I'm like, that is not something you would say. That is not how you talk, right? So maybe if people are going to use assistants on LinkedIn to respond to comments, to increase visibility, like make sure that they're talking like the person they're trying to talk about or
Yeah.
about, right from that, the right hat on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes with everything, right? A lot of us, when we do our consulting with the law firm, we understand that their voice wants to be heard in every aspect. So you got to train your staff that way, right? Because everybody has their own flavor, their own way of talking. So if you want your emails to be streamlined, create email templates. If you want your, responses to certain like FAQs, well, then, create an FAQ, and things like that. Like there is always a place for a streamline and an automation, but when it comes to our clients' specific questions or concerns or emotional, turmoils, there's no place for that. Like you're not there. Unless you're talking to them directly, you should not be telling your staff on how to handle certain things unless they're handling it in an improper way. Of course, you want to, definitely bring that to their attention. But there has to be balance.
And kind of like we were saying too, like even sometimes even in email correspondence, like when it needs to be heartfelt, like it shouldn't be email. Like it should be, and I've been using Zoom 2015. I've been using Zoom since, before COVID. I think it should be a Zoom. I like Zoom better than a phone call. So you can see your client, you can see how she or he is feeling, you can see the body language, and you can better address them as a person rather than hiding behind an email, rather than even hiding behind a phone. Like I really like to get my clients on Zoom as much as possible when we have to have like a discussion like, is it time to file that complaint for a modification of custody? What else do we need to talk about to get to the finish line here? It needs real human interaction, or even like in person still, like too, if people are still willing to come, and for us to stop hiding behind keyboards for
Yeah,
sure.
I agree. I think technology has its place and its time in general. And so we just need to differentiate all those little intricacies by using our amazing brain, I love it. So any last words or tips or resources that you can provide to our audience so that they can take something tangible out of this episode?
I think the best resource for your audience would be helping them pause time, like we've talked about, and like helping them really get in tune with themselves and what is important for them on what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. And so I will make sure you have the link, but I have like a free resource called the Pause Time Playbook. And what it is, it's a journal entry they can do every morning, and it's like a 7-day like journal challenge. But it's not like journal like, dear diary, here's how I'm feeling today. It's very, very specific prompts, and it tackles work and life. And what the journal prompts really all do is help us become really self-aware and help us, really get in tune with ourselves and see where we are at each day and asking ourselves what matters today. And the more and more self-aware and the more and more mindfulness we have, I think it's easier for us to then look at each task and decide, okay, is this a Wendy task? Is this an AI task? And I think it's important to like start to turn on like all those neural pathways too, like each and every morning, so then we can use them for the rest of the day.
I love that. I am actually going to take that from you. What type of task is this? I love it. Thank you so much, Wendy, for being on the show, for taking the time out of your busy schedule, because I know how busy attorneys and all the things are, especially with all your additional stuff. I get it and I completely understand and I respect your time. So I am going to, bid you of goodwill. But I thank you for everything and all the tips because I feel like that's really what this podcast is about, right? It's about providing you know, some perspectives that maybe we were thinking about, maybe it was heard, but not like actually understood. And so really these conversations, it's almost like little fly on the wall or something where people are listening to what we have to say and what we actually practice, right? Because we do practice what we preach on this, on this podcast. So that's one thing I think that is very reputable about this podcast. But thank you so much. And I appreciate you. And that's it, everybody. We will see you next time. Until justice is served, I'll be here. Bye, guys.